Awesome. There we go. So, hello, 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 hello. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year to some of you who may just be we may just be reconnecting for the first time. Happy New Year to you. I hope you all are well. I hope you all are doing great. Welcome and thank you all so much for joining the session early. So I'm trying to split my screen so that we could have a much more, yeah, okay. Please confirm you can see my screen, please. Kindly confirm you can see my screen. If you can, please let me know. Uh, oh no. Oh wow. Okay, so let me stop and reshare again. Not sure why that's happening. Stanley says yes. Okay, I've stopped sharing. I want to reshare again, just in case the fault is from my end. I hope this is better now. Awesome. So let's get right into it. So thank you all so much for joining the session. Like I said yesterday, we have just 30 minutes to have this conversation. Quick one. Thank you all so much for joining yesterday. For those of you who were able to join the session yesterday, I got quite a few feedback, so I'm glad it was valuable. You're going to receive the replay right after this, and I look forward to receiving your questions via email if you have any. So let's start this conversation. What bothers you the most about your financials? Every single time I have conversations with organizations, money, their books always seem to be the issue. Can we please share in the chat room, right? What bothers you the most about your financials? What is the problem? What bothers you the most about your financials? Please let me see your feedback in the chat room, just so that I can have an idea. What bothers you the most about your financials? What bothers you the most about your financials? Please let me know in the chat room, just so that I have a good idea of what the challenge may be for some people. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Okay. Now you're not making profit the way you should. So, quick question, Agnes. Are you a non-profit? If you're a non-profit, I hope you're not thinking of, I hope you know profit making is not part of what we do. But if you're a business, I can totally understand that because it's a critical part of your work. But if you're saying you're not raising funds, you're not generating revenue, then I understand you for non-profits. For social enterprise, okay, I get that now. For Unduka, you say financial sustainability. I love that. The funds flow because it's really, really not about getting the one-off grants. It's about ensuring that there is a consistent flow of resources to manage your day-to-day activity. That's the specific reason why this is called financial planning and not budgeting or fundraising or things like that. It's called financial planning. Excellent. Thank you all so much for sharing. Like you all know, we don't have enough time for a detailed conversation, but let's get into the heart of it. For a lot of non-profits, especially for non-profits like yours or social enterprises, financial planning is extremely critical for your effective fundraising, your growth, expansion, sustainability, and development as an individual or as an organization. Fundraising is key. It allows you bring in revenue, and you need that revenue to sustain your idea, to sustain your mission and your vision. What I have found that is often lacking in this entire conversation is the financial strategy. So people can come up with a strategic plan for the year. People can come up with this and that, but people rarely come up, sit with their accountants, members of their team, board members to actually have a financial strategy. You cannot take financial strategy away from financial planning, financial growth, financial development, because it's your financial strategy that allows you to manage the revenue that you receive. So, Nduka, back to you. Sustainability, flow of funds. It is your financial strategy that allows you to have or to be able to manage your revenue effectively to the point where you are multiplying 50,000 naira to become 100,000 naira, or you're multiplying $100,000 to become $150,000. That's what financial strategy is. Random question. How many of us in the room has ever received a grant and you set money aside to lock it down for the next 3 months? How many of us has ever done that? Please let me know in the chat room. You've received a grant, a donation, a funding, and you were able to lock it down a specific amount. You were able to extract a specific amount and you locked it down as a get back on my feet type of fund for a specific period of time. We don't have a steady source of income, okay? Does anyone else want to share? If we keep money aside, how do we account for it? Agnes, you're a social enterprise. You should not even have this question because it should be built into, it's even more difficult for a non-profit to be able to set money aside than a social enterprise, because you are a blend of for-profit making and impact or making a difference. And I want to assume your investors, the funds you're raising, part of your money, your financials should be planned in such a way that room is created for that purpose. It has to be, whether as miscellaneous, whatever it is. Let me come to the non-profit people. When you design projects and you have line items, and your line items have specific amounts that are allocated to it. If we're going to be honest in this conversation, we both know that there is a proposed budget and there is an actual budget. In your proposed budget, that's what you put forward. And sometimes you can go higher, you can come lower, because as a non-profit or as a development practitioner, you must make provision for a change in, I don't know about you, but I know of people that have designed projects. By the time the funds are coming, the dollar rate, especially in a country as epileptic as Nigeria, the dollar rate is not the same thing as it was when that funds were applied for. And then they now have to come up with more creative ways to ensure that they still train 500 people, they still train 100 people. You must always factor in an inflation cost. And that forces me to ask the question, do we really create our budgets together with our financial administrators? Do we? Because if you create your budget with your financial administrator, look, you must be able to extract a specific portion of that budget and allocate it to maybe a need that is required in the next 3 months. I'll give you an example. If I have a project, a 6-month project, and what is required for me to successfully roll out phase 1 of my project is, let's say, 500,000. And I have received a 3.5 or a 3 million. What should I do? Knowing fully well that in the next 3 months, I don't have need for 2.5 million, because phase 1 of my project only requires 500,000 naira to execute. What happens to the rest of the money? Do you keep it in a bank, waiting for when to utilize the resources? Or do you carry out 3 months transactions that can help you generate a profit, no matter how small, on that principal amount? That's why I said, I understand that we tie each of those line items to activities, but it is even so much more important for you to always categorize your projects into milestones, into phases, and into whatever it is. Why do you do so? If I have, let's say, let me use um, let's say empowerment project. I need to empower 500 women at the end of my 12 weeks program. And I need to empower them with XYZ, XYZ. And I have received 70% of my resources upfront from my donors. You prepare an actual budget. An actual budget is the amount of money you need specifically to roll out your project. And then there are excesses on the other ones that come in from the proposed. You fix that into something. It could be treasury bills. Treasury bills are so secure because you know that nothing is going to happen to government money. 90 days, you're going to get your money back with profit. But you must be able to allocate money when that money is not in use. You must be able to allocate money when that money is not in use. And that's why I say, do you plan your budget with your financial advisor, or better still, accountant? Or is your budget being developed by a program officer, submitted, grant received, no further communication is held? So what financial planning does is that it forces you to give an end-to-end approach or an end-to-end reflection of your resources. When is it coming in? Who is it coming in from? How is it coming in? When do we need to execute? What amount are we going to be able to lock down? I worked in non-profit for years before I even started running DFA. One of the principal things, maybe because we had a lot of financial, most of our board members were heads of CEO of Deutsche Bank, CEO of First Bank, CEO of all the banks you can think of. They were on the board, or they were like the CEOs of those banks when people on the board of the non-profit. As soon as the money is hitting the account, I'm telling you, we take away XYZ amount of money and we tie the rest up. Because it is important for you to think of future cash flow. I feel like we spent so much time here, but I hope that has helped anyone. Agnes is asking, what do you do when you do most of the work? You must be able to subcontract. If I'm going to have an honest conversation with you, you must have a timeline for when you are going to do your work alone. Number two, explore volunteers. I keep using this as a classic example because DFA ran on volunteers for 2 years. Nobody was being paid a salary. We were able to find people around our pain points, get them on board as our volunteers, do an exchange of value, and at the end of the day, we were getting value, they were getting value. One of such people you should consider having on board is an accountant as a volunteer. It could just be someone you could go to say, I've prepared this budget, oh, can I have your input? If you have board members that have financial backgrounds, you should be able to have conversations with those board members. That is their role within your organization. Their role is not just to mark registers, a board member, take pictures, post them everywhere. That's why I say, I feel like we are deviating, but let me do this because I know it will be relevant to other people. You have an organization. You need to be able to, yesterday we discussed it, have a strategic plan for your organization. What goes into a strategic plan is that you know that in my first 1 year, I may not have resources to pay anybody. So, what is the reality of the work that I'm doing for the next 1 year? Who can I hire? Who can come on board as a volunteer? Who can I meet? I had someone who used to be an accountant for an organization I used to work with. When I was doing DFA's work, Ops was the one looking at my books before I had money to pay Oba. And the moment we had resources to start paying, he was the first person we brought on board to serve as our accountant. Sorry, he does our books every 6 months. He gave us a template when we were imputing things, and then he does our book every 6 months. You can't eat your cake and have it. Something has to give. It's either you run it alone and push yourself extra, which is late nights, put yourself on that constant roller coaster ride, or you explore the alternatives. An alternative could be every 3 months, I get somebody to come and look at my books. I pay somebody for a template, and I manage if I pay for a software, impute the information every Friday. You need to find something that works. When you want to pick someone's brain, when you have something as important as a grant application, you must find an accountant that you are willing to pay. Let me pay you 20K, let me pay you 30, let me pay you 10K to look at these things for me, because it is extremely important. So guys, financial planning should be your goal rather than just saying I want to fundraise. For 2025, financial planning is key. Now, there are so many parts of financial planning. People always tend to think that financial planning is only budget. There is budget, there is cash flow, there is income and expenditure statements, so many things. But for the purpose of this class, I'm going to focus on one that I have seen to be, if not the most important, one of the most important elements when you are creating a financial plan. Before I go into that, quick question. How many of us have started the audit for 2024? Can you please share in the comment section? How many of us has an auditor looking at our books from the previous year? Now, I know that there may be so many reasons why this is not happening right now for your organization. I totally get that. But can we share in the comment section how many of us are currently auditing our books? Whether you were active last year or not, whether you made a lot of money or you did not generate a lot of inflow, how many of us are actually auditing our account or preparing to audit our account as we speak? Agnes says, I don't know how to go about it. Thank you so much for being honest. Unduka says, not yet. Second question, what is the biggest challenge with auditing of your account or auditing of your books? Adejoke says he or she is speaking to an auditor. Great. Okay. What do you think has always been the biggest challenge when it comes to financial auditing? Anthony says, not yet. Okay. Please let me know in the comment section. What is your biggest challenge? I heard it is expensive. Preconceived ideas, assumptions. Thank you so much for sharing, Agnes. The cost, oh, thank you so much for sharing. I don't know an auditor, and I also assume that it costs a lot. What if I tell you, it's going to sound crazy. What if I tell you you can get someone to audit your books from as high as 60K to as low as 200 and something, 300 and something thousand? The cost is only connected to the volume of the transactions that you have done over the years. It is not as expensive as you think, because I know expensive is relative. Number two, bias aside, assumption aside, it is something you should plan for, because do you know why? Ladies and gentlemen, your books are important if you are truly looking to generate inflow, if you're looking to access grants, if you're looking to get investors. Your books are extremely important. One of the challenges that I have found why people do not get auditors is because their books are compromised. Let me explain. I don't mean you have cheated. I don't mean there's fraud going on. No. Let me explain to you what I mean by compromised. For a lot of loan stars here are people who are maybe running right now. You're the one that's literally the everything within your organizations. They're the ones I call lone wolf or loan stars. For a lot of you, the funding is coming from your personal account. True or false? The funding is coming from your personal account. You are funding it either from the resources you have in your personal account. If you work a 9 to 5, when you get paid a salary, resources are being extracted from there to fund the work that you are doing. True or false? Waiting for an answer. A lot of mix up with personal resources. So let me tell you one trick that I have used over the years, right? That has worked remarkably for me. Because why auditing is important, let's play a game. Imagine you have applied for a grant. In fact, you now even got to the point where they are conducting due diligence, it means you're like a top elite performer for accessing that grant. And they look at your books and they see that this person has only done $5K and the person is asking for $200,000. How would this person manage these resources? Let me tell you one trick I would advise every non-profit founder to begin to implement. Get a separate account. I'm starting from here because I don't know what levels we all are in. Get a separate account. Transfer money. Even if you want to buy data, even if you want to buy internet, from for your work, transfer funds from your personal account into your non-profit account, and then use your non-profit account to purchase whatever you need to purchase. Let me tell you, there is one thing that is more important than anything else when you lead a non-profit. It is your cash flow. Money coming in and money going out. Money coming in and money going out. What do auditors do? Auditors will look at your books and they will begin to segment your inflow. They would say, okay, inflow allocated to, let's say, internet and communication costs comes to about $50,000, 50,000 naira a year. Inflow as donations from friends and family comes to about 100,000 naira a year. What an auditor does is to categorize your inflow so that you can know, where am I spending the bulk money from? Or what's my money going more into? We are generating all this inflow, but I can't seem to understand where my expenses are going into. That's what the auditor does. They categorize all your expenses and then they give you the authentic picture of your nonprofit. If you keep on using resources from your private account, you are robbing your organization the value of having a pictorial representation of how your money is being utilized. So how do you save costs? How do you grow your inflow? How do you know who your biggest the largest amount of money you ever received was in your organization? So my recommendation to anyone on this call who is having this challenge of personal funds and family and friends funds is simple. Have a separate account for your nonprofit. Have a separate account for your personal funds that you utilize. If you need to run any expense from your nonprofit or fund your nonprofit, transfer the money from your personal account to your nonprofit. I'll tell you something else. In accounting, if you do this right, do you know you can actually get a refund? Do you know you can actually get a refund? Let's say 2 years down the line, you access funds and you're like, look, you know what? We have made so much input, so much sacrifices. I have made so much input and so much sacrifice. Do you know it is permissive or it is permitted for you to get a refund when your nonprofit can handle it? If there is no record of you expending all these resources, money to your nonprofit account, because it's almost like your nonprofit account is borrowing. Nonprofit is borrowing from you. Pending when you have the resources, then the nonprofit can refund you and say, look, you know what? We can now stand on our own 2 feet. We are refunding you XYZ amount of money that we have borrowed from you over the past few years. Because do you know why? Your nonprofit is a legal entity. Your social enterprise is a legal entity. And you are separate from that legal entity. Do you understand what I'm saying? You are separate from that legal entity. That's why you find in America and in so many countries, so many big men, they will tell you the company is bankrupt, but he's still flying private jets. Because he's separate from the company. He's separate from the company. So this is one of the recommendations I would give as a nonprofit founder or as a social enterprise. So quickly, we don't have much time, right? Why should you conduct an audit? Number one, transparency and accountability. Even if it is a one-page income and expenditure statement of accounts that you receive at the end of a financial year, it's better than nothing at all. Because you must know where you are turning all your money to. Where is your money going to? Where is it coming from and where is it going to? Number two, I said it here, you get to see where funds are going to. Number three, do you know that you are much more honorable and much more credible when I see inflow, no matter what the money is for? Because we always think it's when we are like $1 million foundation, that's when we can now begin to like show. No, you are telling us the true state of things, the true state of affairs through your financials. So it makes you more credible. It shows that you have nothing to hide. And then, most importantly, for financial management, if you want to sustain your inflow, you must be able to track where the resources are coming from and what they are going towards. I will never forget a testimonial Tara gave at one of the sessions I was in many years ago. She said, House of Tara, if you're not a Nigerian, she's a Nigerian beauty brand, pretty much a pioneer in the sector. And she noticed that for for a long time she was experiencing extreme loss, like extreme money was just not adding up and they could not trace. They had done everything, they have tried, tested for fraud, nothing was adding up. And she gave this feedback. Eventually, she was giving this feedback based on, she was saying that it's very important for us to have very good relationship with every member of our staff. You never can tell who understands things that are going on in your organization, you know, those sorts of things. So she was giving us feedback about things like that. And then she said a cleaner was the one that now said to her, Madam, let me speak English, she buys seaway water every day and she replaces the cups that they use, sometimes up to 3 or 4 times in a week. She's replacing cups. So what was draining their money? Cups was draining their money. When they went back to check how much was going into purchasing of plastic cups, it was ridiculous. She said that was when they now gave an announcement. Everybody should come to work with their water bottles. That was how they started making a profit. So you may not know what is draining your organization's resources if you cannot paint a thorough picture of what your financials look like. We have to run now. The second thing I want to talk about is your annual operating budget. If you are here and you don't have an annual operating budget and you have started your activities, you're already doing this, you are doing that, you are, shut it down and go and create an annual operating budget. How can you not have an annual operating budget? What is your plan financially for this year? What is the plan? I categorize it into 3 key areas. Some people just do 2, project and revenue and expenses. But from experience, I've seen that there are more than 2. You need 3. Actuals from last year. If we spent 500,000 on back to school program last year, how much do we want to spend this year? Actuals. How did we raise the money for the 500K back to school program? It's time for us to do what? Increase or expand how we are generating money. So your actuals, which is the actual cost I spent last year, the projected revenue I intend to generate this year and all the different sources. And then most importantly, how am I spending money? All these 3 items must be captured in your annual operating budget. Again, if you do not have one, I recommend shut down, use this weekend and create an annual operating budget, no matter how unattractive it looks. Please create one. I want to talk a bit about David and the importance of doing this. David was one of our fellows from a GEDA fellowship program that we had. And David received $100,000 in grants. Some of his fellows are here from the Lenovo Transform Me program. He said, Chidi, I had done everything. I had done everything. We have fantastic programs, fantastic M&E, impact reports, impact of the work he's doing, board members, everything was phenomenal, but his finances and his books were 0. After our classes, he went back, sat with his mentor, and they reviewed, they retweaked most of the templates we had shared. That was what he used to revamp. And before you know what was going on, the next grant he applied for, he received $100,000 in grants. So please, let's not underestimate the importance of our annual operating budget, having our financials in check, amongst other things. One of the things we are going to do in our upcoming webinar on 28th of February is to give you, is to teach you, we call it fundraising simplified, is to show you how to create this plan and work the plan. I'm very big on working the plan. How do you create this plan and work the plan? We also have an ongoing mentorship program or coaching program. And I'm going to be working with very few. I had put 10 here, but when I remember the amount of work that is about to go into this, I reduced it to 5 because I want to give attention. That's why we're not having an inner circle this year, because I want to be able to allocate my time and effort into people and organizations that are willing and are available and ready to do the work. So please click the link to join any of these 2 programs. They are available. One is going to start February 1st, and the second one is going to come. February 1st is a Saturday. It's going to start the Monday of February 1st. And then the second one is going to hold on February 28th. I encourage you all to consider. Finally, do you have a financial policy? Finally, do you have a financial policy? There are so many policies we as nonprofit founders are supposed to have, nonprofit workers, social enterprises, so many policies that we're supposed to have. Your financial policy is one of them. What is a financial policy? How you execute work within your organization. Who approves what? Whether you are a one-man organization or you are a 50-man organizational team, who approves what? What is the highest amount of money Chidi can sign off? At what point do I need to get in touch with a board member to append the second signature? You must have a financial policy in place, because that's the check and balance that your nonprofit requires. Let me move on because we don't have more time. So finally, a lot of these conversations that we've had, we have an annual operating budget available, we have a program calendar available, we have a nonprofit checklist available, and then we have a video that will walk you through this. If you're interested, immediately after this class, you will receive an email by later 6 p.m. Please check it out. The point I'm trying to make, because we are at the end of our session already. The point I'm trying to make is that I want you to prioritize your financials this year.
I'm drafting everything. I'm not even.
We can hear someone speaking, please. Kindly mute your microphone. I want you to prioritize your financials this year. If you don't conduct an audit, no matter how afraid you think you are, don't be afraid of asking. Please, we don't have money. Can you come and do it for us for free? I can't do anything for free. Okay, please, can I give you 20K? Negotiate. Negotiate. Don't be ashamed of negotiating. When you become a Bill and Melinda Gates grantee, you can go and hire the most expensive auditors in the world. But right now, you are starting out. Negotiate. You can do it for you for free. And you put the person there as something, give the person something, find what is important to the person and give to the person. But it is so key that you conduct your audits and that you utilize the data generated from your audit reports. I use that data a lot. When I say money is going into, we were subscribed to a lot of platforms. In fact, we are paying US dollar fees on all our websites, on all the platforms that we are subscribed to. We have to sit down and have a rethink. This thing that we are paying for, is there somewhere else that getting it for free or little or no amount of money? Maybe we should wait for the next 6 months before what has been the value of this particular platform and being plugged onto this particular platform. Evaluate, move money around. If we stop doing this, we can now hire that. But you cannot know the real picture if you do not conduct an audit and generate an annual operating budget. The bulk of all these conversations, again, will be shared in these 2 programs. If any of them is of interest to you, please feel free to send us an email and somebody will respond. Do you have a question? I promised you that we will not go beyond 5:30. If you have a question, please ask your question in the chat room. And, this is me just saying thank you so much for always showing up for our classes. My commitment is to human capital development. So it doesn't matter if it was only one person that was in this class. I will still teach this class with all my heart because I strongly believe that our responsibility at DFA is to raise transformational leaders. We want you to have what it takes for you to run without us. We don't want you to need us in another 3 years. That's not the vision of the organization. We want you to come in, generate power, and move. And then if you have any need, you come back again and top up and continue. So please do not underestimate the importance of your financials. It is important. Don't be afraid. I don't think there's anybody afraid of that debit alert than me. Once the thing is coming on the organization's phone, I'm just like, hey, I don't want to see you. That was me before. I don't want to see you. What did we pay for? How much is the balance? But these days, you have to, it's part of what leadership does to you. You have to brace up and you have to look at the figures. And if you don't like the figures, then you need to be intentional about changing the figures. Your inflow is so key. So if you currently have programs that are not generating money, like I said yesterday, scrap, put on hold. What is so important to this classes, the classes are so connected, right? So if you were in classes today, remember what I said, what is important to you? Income generation is your priority right now. Identify what you need to put on hold. You should not be afraid of putting those things on hold. And you focus on it. Our theme for the first 6 months of this year is generate $1 million. That is your focus. It's not something to be ashamed of. You pursue. I hope you guys found this very valuable. Let me quickly see if anybody has questions. Solomon says, can an organization based in Nigeria, for instance, hire an auditor that is based somewhere else, maybe in Ghana? Absolutely, yes, you can. Yes, you can. But I will tell you where your challenge will be. It may not really matter because I have not also gone to check if it does matter. As long as it gives you, in fact, you can get an auditor from anywhere in the world. As long as they issue their professional written statements, stamped and sealed, they give you that document at the end of your auditing experience to say from Bill and Bill International or XYZ organization. But yes, you can have financial auditors, any part of the world, audit your account as long as it's transparent and it tells the real picture of your organization's finances. Let's see. Anthony, you're going to get the email right after this class. Someone is going to send you an email on the masterclass. You're all welcome. Thank you all so much once more. We're 1 minute past our time. Please don't forget to send us an email to let us know if this was of value to you and what your key takeout from this session was. Until we come away again on Monday, we're going to be focusing on your stakeholders, reconnecting, expanding, and growing your stakeholders. How do you retain stakeholders? Stakeholders are made up of different people. Let me not go into that. But how do you retain them? How do you manage them? And how do you grow them? Because that's another focus you must focus on, for this year. One of the things I said to you yesterday was that I had to start deleting, people on our database that were no longer active, they were not engaging. We had to start deleting. So, because they were costing us money, Why should we be paying XYZ amount of money to renew our subscription on a service when the emails, maybe 20% of the people on those emails, they don't respond, they don't engage, they don't open. You delete them and add the people that are desperate to be a part of your engagement. Okay, I have to end the class here. Thank you all so much once more. I look forward to seeing you on Monday. Have yourself a lovely weekend and take care. Do not forget, ask us questions if you have, but send it to our email. All right, guys, take care. Bye.
Bye.